Welcome to Carter Hall Farm.
This video is to introduce you to our new channel, Carter Hall Farms.
And to welcome you to our farm.
This video has been a long time coming. If you've watched other videos on Do Brew, I've been previewing the work that's going on here at Carter Hall.
So on the Carter Hall Farm channel, you'll get to see all the fun stuff that we're getting up to around the farm. A little bit about the animal, the garden, and bees, and anything else that we're kind of doing on the farm. While the Do Brew channel will follow Mike along as he restores our 200-year-old farmhouse and does any other home improvement DIY type projects, you know, just like Do Brew has always been.
And this is actually the realization of a long dream of ours. Gosh, 15, 20 years ago, we actually had a big water jug that we would put our change into.
The farm bank.
And called that the farm bank, because we always wanted to one day have a farm.
And this place has actually been in Mike's family for 50 or 60 years.
Yeah, my aunt and uncle purchased this house back in the early 1960s, and they spent a lifetime restoring it. When they purchased it, it was very much overgrown and in need of an awful lot of maintenance. And now here we are, and we're now touching up the landscaping, but also doing quite a bit of maintenance on the inside of the house, and things like new roof and gutters, and we need to fix up the outside drainage to keep the water away from the foundation of the house, that sort of thing. You'll see all that stuff on the Do Brew channel.
And on Carter Hall Farms, you can expect to see our adventures with our chickens. We have a flock of 10 right now, but we hope to grow that at some point. We're also planning to raise bees for honey, and the main event will be our sheep. The goal is to raise rare sheep, starting with the Hog Island breed that we found out about when we went to the Maryland Sheep and Wool.
Well, the Hog Island sheep, they're considered an historic breed of sheep. They were actually brought to the colonies, the U.S., back in the early 1600s, and they remained on a barrier island off Virginia.
They haven't changed very much in 500 years.
So genetically, these sheep are very similar to sheep that would have been found in northern Europe 400 years ago.
Yeah, and try to bring back some of those numbers. And we're researching some other kinds of rare breeds as well. And we'll have we want the sheep for their fleece. I'm a knitter and interested in, you know, learning how to shear the sheep and mill our own yarn here on the farm. So all of that's to come. We've got a lot in store for us.
So we purchased the house back in March of 2019, about 18 months ago. And we've been here full time since March of 2020. Because of the COVID-19 virus, we thought it best to come out here to the farm, and we're somewhat isolated anyways. Plus, it's provided us a great opportunity to get a lot of work done. Now, some of the first projects that we're doing kind of align with the way homesteaders back in the early maybe late 1700s, built their farms and their lifestyle. In that when they were granted the land, the first thing they built was not a home, they built a barn, because that barn would be a revenue source for them, so that they could establish themselves and then finally build the home that they were going to live in. Well, obviously we've got a big, beautiful home that we're already living in. Needs a little bit of work though. But the first projects that we're doing here outside are related to farming.
Yeah, so our first farming adventure has been our flock of 10 chickens. And we ordered some baby chicks from Myers Hatchery, and I'll put the link to that down below in the show notes so you can find them. It was a great experience. They kept in touch with us the whole time, and then the chicks came in the mail, which is something that we had no idea would happen. They actually called us from the post office on a Sunday, and Mike and our son went over there to pick them up, and we had a great unveiling of all of our baby chicks. And we read a lot that as beginning, chicken raisers or farmers, you can expect to lose one or two, but luckily we haven't lost any. We started out with 10, and we've got 10 teenage chickens still. They're about 12 or 14 weeks old, so we haven't got any eggs yet, but that's the reason we wanted them, for the farm fresh eggs. So it's been going pretty well so far.
Yeah. The first eggs supposedly come around 17, 18 weeks. We've got the coop built, but I need to get cracking on the nesting boxes.
Yeah. We've got a lot to learn, though. We were very, very surprised the first time we went outside to put the chickens to bed, and there were 4 of them up in a tree and refused to come out and go to the coop, and they've stayed up there every night ever since then.
Yeah, for about 3 or 4 weeks now, I guess.
Yeah.
They spent maybe the first 2 weeks in the coop at night, and then they discovered the tree next to the coop, and that's where they want to stay out overnight now.
Yeah.
To us, that's kind of funny. We spent a lot of time building that coop, and almost half the flock wants to live in the tree outside.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens in the winter when it starts to get cold. I'm hoping that instinctively they'll know they need to go inside, or when they lay eggs, they're going to need to go inside to the nesting boxes because they can't lay an egg in the tree. So.
Yeah. Well, they do know that the coop is where the food and water is. Because
yeah, they go back in there first thing in the morning. Whenever we go out there first thing, they're free range, so we open the coop in the morning and they just wander the property wherever they want all day. We've been really lucky. We have 3 dogs, and we did read that that's the #1 danger to your chicken flock is your family pet. And initially we kept everybody on a leash and did the introductions, and we've slowly allowed them to get closer to the chickens, and they haven't bothered them at all. So we've been really fortunate that way.
Yeah.
And so the chickens are interesting little creatures. We actually chronicled them a lot on our Carter Hall Farm Instagram. If you're interested, you can follow us over there. You can see all the fun things that they're up to. We have one that's particularly entertaining.
Kooky.
Totsy, the chicken.
Yeah.
He has his own feed. So
he's a crested Polish chicken.
Polish crested. Yeah.
Polish crested. And he's got this big hat on his head, and he's all black except for the white hat on his head, and it pretty much covers his eyes.
Yeah, we're not sure if that's the reason he's such a weirdo, or if he legitimately can't see and maybe has something a little bit wrong with him. But he spends a lot of time walking around in circles, bumping into trees, things of that nature.
And we say he, even though we ordered 10 female chicks.
I think he's a chicken. I don't know why we keep calling him he.
Well, I kind of started that because my theory is because he has always been a little bit different than the other 9 and a little bit more of a loner. And if there's any concerns like the dogs or anything,
he rushes out ahead of the rest of the flock.
Puts himself between the threat and the flock. So we'll see. What's the old saying? How to tell a female chicken?
Oh, you find out if you have a male or a female when they crow or lay an egg.
When they crow or lay an egg. So if Totsy lays an egg, he's not a rooster.
Yeah.
No farmer, but I can tell you that.
Yeah. So we'll keep you posted on Totsy news.
Yeah.
So the chickens have gone pretty well so far, and our other venture this year, our first year here on the farm, was to plant a garden, which we did. And what we got out of the garden, I think, went okay, but I made a lot of mistakes. I planted way too much. We planted garden boxes, and we initially started with one that was about 6 feet by 4 feet, and I planted way too much in that box. It's definitely been a learning curve. So luckily we had a neighbor who came over and gave us some advice, and we built a couple of more and kind of spread things out a little bit. And we got some good tomatoes, and we got some zucchini. I had a few peas, and I've had some great success with the peppers.
And lettuce. Got some lettuce.
Yeah, we did. We got some lettuce, but so far the winner this year, I think, is the poblano peppers, the tomatoes, and the zucchinis by far. We've gotten so many zucchinis.
Yeah.
But next year, we'll grow a little bit, and I'll definitely follow the directions on the back of the seed packets this time and plant things at the distance that they're supposed to be planted.
Yeah. We started out small, just so we could learn a little bit about what we were doing before we dive headfirst into it. We started off with 3 raised bed boxes made out of just not treated stud lumber, which worked out pretty nicely.
Yeah, and we went out to the barnyard and brought in soil, which is the perfect place to get it from, because we have the cows out there. And then had some kind of sand delivered from the sand company in town, and then we did top it off with some Miracle-Gro topsoil. And everything went crazy, and the weeds, we kept the weeds down pretty well. There was some grass popping up, I think, from the barnyard, from the cows.
Yeah.
But overall, the weeding, because they were garden boxes, I think that kept it down nicely. So the, you know, the garden, we did do the garden, and we were able to harvest some vegetables from there, which was very nice. Next year we're going to expand it quite a bit, I think, and do some berry bushes and, you know, really a lot more variety of vegetables and some flowers. Yeah. You know, and that kind of thing.
But what Carrie said a minute ago was that we started off small, and that's kind of key for everything that we want to do here, because while we're all in on the farm life and doing our best to make this work, we're not farmers by any stretch.
No.
So started off small with the garden, starting off small with our beehives. We have 2 hive boxes now, and we're kind of right in the middle of apple country. So we're hoping that we can expand our hive boxes over time and really get some delicious honey from the apple blossoms. Once things are up and running, the 3 raised bed boxes that Carrie has for her garden now is going to grow into a rather expansive garden of a couple hundred feet by a couple hundred feet.
Yeah.
And we're going to.
That's the goal.
Yeah, and Carrie wants to incorporate the chickens' coop into that, so that their range is going to be, you know, in and around the garden. Hopefully not scratching too much, but eating the pests and the insects, and then providing that natural fertilizer that chickens do so well.
Exactly.
Yeah. Another thing that we're going to be doing here that we started off small is composting. We want to do everything as natural as we can. So composting is something we're just now looking into. We do have a small composter right outside the kitchen that we put our kitchen scraps into. And yeah, we're doing everything as close to by the book as we can now with our proper mix of greens and browns, nitrogen and carbon. But it really is amazing how we put all these scraps in there, and there's no smell.
Yeah, no, not at all.
The only smell there is it smells like dirt. And we've been doing that now since Mother's Day. That's Carrie's Mother's Day present.
My Mother's Day present.
Composter.
A composter.
But like everything else, we're starting off small. Eventually, we do want to have a covered area, probably on the far side of the field, where we'll have multiple years worth of composted material that will go directly into Carrie's garden.
Yeah.
Another thing we'll do a little experiment on here. Carrie kind of got on me using chemical weed killers, and she found a recipe for a homemade weed killer using just things you find in the kitchen. And so far we've had just as good or almost better success with that than using the very expensive and somewhat nasty.
It's just a mixture of vinegar, dish soap, and Epsom salt, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll put a link below to where you can find that recipe if you're interested in that.
Yeah. But so far it works great.
Yeah.
And not using the nasty chemicals.
Yeah. And it's important to us to try to do things as naturally as possible, because the chickens are eating the things that are in the ground, and whatever they put into their bodies is going to come out in their eggs, which we are going to eat and feed to our kids. So, and part of what we'd like to do is kind of use the things that grow up here as kind of experiment with some natural dyes when we have our sheep and we're dyeing the yarn and things like that. We'd really like to experiment with some natural dyeing. And kind of reading up on what we already have growing here that we can use, and there's a bit that just grows wild here on the farm that you would think are weeds that you can use. We have a lot of black walnut trees, and black walnuts make a beautiful dye. They'll dye anything. The color of them is so potent. The color that they make, and it's a beautiful chocolate brown.
Yeah. And
we've probably got 20 or 30 black walnut trees, so we have that. And there's dandelions and thistles, and all manner of things that we can use to try to develop natural dyes and things like that. So pretty excited about getting started on that. So we really kind of want to try to cultivate the land and use the things that we have, and try to get as much of what we need to live right here from the land.
Yeah.
So.
So what can you expect from the Carter Hall Farms channel?
Well, I think the Carter Hall Farms channel will be all the fun stuff.
Yeah.
The raising the chickens and raising the sheep, the bees, anything that we make out of what we have. It could be anything. It'll be our yarn and our line of honey and beeswax candles, the sky's the limit, whatever we decide to get up to here that I would consider the fun stuff. And then on Do Brew, what can they expect?
Do Brew, you're going to see the build of everything we do here. So if you see us raising bees, you're gonna hear all about how to raise bees on the Carter Hall Farms channel. You're gonna see all about how to build a foundation and set the hive boxes and set the bees up for success from a kind of a construction standpoint on the Do Brew channel. So Do Brew is going to be all things renovation, home improvement, and builds here around the farm. And on Carter Hall Farms channel, you're going to see the results of all of those builds.
Yeah. I'm pretty excited to get started.
Oh yeah, yeah. I am too. But let me say that on Do Brew, we just passed 10,000 subscribers, and there's really a great community of people out there that will provide all of their tips and tricks and techniques for how to do things better. And we hope to foster that same community on Carter Hall Farms.
Oh, because we definitely need your help.
Yeah.
Any tips on anything that we're doing are more than welcome, because we grew up in the suburbs. We're learning as we go, so definitely put your comments. Anything that you have to tell us, we'd love to hear it.
Absolutely. So for Do Brew, you can expect to see the brood box build for the chickens. I'll post those videos here in a week or so, and then that'll be immediately followed with the build of the chicken coop, which we started building after the chickens arrived. So there's a little bit of pressure to get them into the coop, because boy, those little chicks grew so fast. And then another quick video on building a platform to mount our composter that's over by the kitchen.
And pretty soon on the Carter Hall Farm channel, we'll take you on a tour of our farm, our garden, our chicken coop. You can meet the girls and the dogs. And you can also follow along on our Carter Hall Farm Instagram. That's where you can see what we're doing on a day-to-day basis. And we'll try to get a video up every couple of weeks moving forward.
Now the girls and the dogs, you don't mean our daughters and sons, you mean the chickens and the dogs.
The chickens and the dogs, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Clear that up.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, and also to come in a video very soon is a house tour. Our son is very excited to take everybody on a tour of the house. And he's got a video all ready to go onto YouTube. So that's coming soon.
So we have 5 kids all together, and our youngest little nipper, Dylan, is 7, and you've seen him on Do Brew videos already. He's quite the little helper, and he's helped me out tremendously with the renovations of this house already, as well as all of our children have been here helping out, which has been a huge help, and we're grateful for all the work they've been doing. But Dylan has put together a house tour video
from when we first bought the place.
Yeah, it was only a month or so after we bought it. Yeah. So there's boxes laying around. There's almost no furniture in the place at all. But it'll give you a good feel for the layout of the house.
And all we have to do to it.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot for watching, guys. We'll see you soon at Carter Hall Farm.
Take care, folks.
Thank you.